Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Network. I'm Tom Kessenich. He is Geoff Stein, and tonight we've got another live stream for you, a RotoWire Online Championship, $250,000 grand prize on the line coming at you in a couple of minutes. Geoff, we haven't done one of these in a couple of weeks. We had, of course, the holiday weekend last week. I hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend. Hope you did too, Geoff. But again, we did a town hall a couple of days ago with Greg. We got another town hall coming up tomorrow with Greg. I hope everybody tunes in for that. But we haven't done a live stream draft in a couple of weeks, so I'm looking forward to this one. Should be a lot of fun. How about you? Looking forward to this tonight?
Yeah. It seems there's been some player movement as of late. We'll talk as it happened, but when we did our streams a few weeks ago, that number one, number two pick were pretty steady. I think we looked at it, and it was the same guys in the same spots. But there's been a little bit of movement. Like we can talk about that once the draft gets moving a little bit. Uh, I think a little bit of that groupthink is going out the window a little bit. People are starting to make their stands in areas, and we'll see what happens tonight. But I definitely expect a little more of that.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of movement at the top. We'll see what happens in the first three or four picks. We won't give anything away. We'll see what happens there. But you're right, a little bit of movement at the top. Let's jump this draft board up here so people can take a look at it. We got the draft about to start right now. So yeah, we're looking forward to this one tonight. Again, 12 teams. Third round reversal, $250,000 grand prize. Want to welcome everybody into the chat. If you want to join us, ask us some questions. We'll do our best to answer them. If you got any questions about the NFFC overall, about our live events coming up in New York and Las Vegas, again, we were happy to answer any questions that you got tonight. And there's the guy I want to talk about, Geoff. McCaffrey, CD Lamb go 1-2, no surprise there. But that's the mover right now. Bijan Robinson goes third overall. I tweeted about him the other day. He is the guy moving up right now. He had been going maybe 6, 7, even 8, but there he goes right there at 3. He is the prime mover right now. So, what are your thoughts about Bijan going up in the top 3 right now?
Well, we had the live stream with Nelson Souza from FTN a few days ago, and he took him number one overall. So he was the one I was mentioning. I knew we'd get to him, but man, oh man, I think you're going to really see the Bijan and Tyreek settle into that 3 and 4. I don't necessarily think it might be in that or it might not be in that same order, but I think those are going to be the guys fighting for 3 and 4 going forward. But I guess and again, Nelson took him number one. I guess I wouldn't be surprised to see Bijan go ahead of CD Lamb in drafts at some point. A lot depending on what people's strategy are. Are they going to do the 3RR, or excuse me, not 3RR, then zero running back? I got all my numbers confused here. Are they going to do the zero running back type thing, or are they going to get the stud running back early? But no, he's definitely the jumper, and I think you mentioned who he's going ahead of now in that tweet, and that's who went to team number 5, Brees Hall.
Yep. Well, I've been adamant really since the drafting season began. He was the number 2 running back on my board ahead of Brees Hall. So for me, everybody's catching up to where I've been since February, really, since drafting season began. So congratulations to all the high stakes players for catching up to me. I'm not always right. I may be wrong, but that's where Bijan's been on my board. So again, Bijan goes 3. There's Tyreek Hill at 4, Brees Hall 5. Amon-Ra St. Brown 6, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, and Jahmyr Gibbs at 11. We are flying through this first round right now. And there goes Puka Nacua to close out round 1. So only 4 running backs. That's pretty much what we're seeing. Look at all that yellow or gold, whatever you want to call it. 8 wide receivers in round 1. Geoff and Jonathan Taylor begins round 2. Geoff, I think that's pretty much what we're going to see. Maybe JT sneaks into the first round in some drafts, but I think 8 wide receivers, 4 running backs. I think that's going to be pretty constant throughout most of the drafting season. What do you think about that?
Yeah, obviously things can change quickly before we get to Vegas, but no, I mean it seems like this has kind of been the top 12. You can kind of swap in the Kua Taylor, but then then you start to see these guys, the Harrisons and the Londons of the world. I don't think they're going to pass Taylor. I don't think they're going to pass Gibbs. I don't think they're going to pass Nakua. They might. They could. I guess it wouldn't surprise me. I don't really see it happening. So yeah, I think that the first round, if I had to gamble, I'd say it's pretty set in stone right now. But I think there's some things that can kind of move things around. And we have Frank in the chat that just mentioned Jefferson too high.
Yep.
He seems like one of those guys that you know, someone's going to do it. I think. Obviously, the guy was number one overall last year, but do you take Jamar Chase ahead of him, AJ Brown ahead of him? What are your thoughts on that, Tom? I kind of
Well,
all got those
I mean, I'm
guys all bundled together in the middle. I guess I don't really have a set opinion, a set hot take on that. What do you think about those three, or even those wide receivers in the middle of round one? Is it just you're just happy to get any of them?
I'm taking the running backs ahead of those wide receivers. I mean, honestly, those three running backs who are off the board right now, Gibbs, Taylor, Barkley, I've taken all those running backs ahead of that group of wide receivers
Well,
after Amon-Ra St. Brown goes off the board. I want one of those running backs, and I know I'm not getting them probably drafting in the middle of the first round there. I'm probably not getting any one of those three guys. So I want one of those three. I want one of those six with my first pick, and I'm not getting them after pick 6 in all probability. So that's where I'm going, and I understand what Frank's saying, and we've talked about Jefferson on previous live streams. The talent's not in dispute; it's the quarterback situation. So I totally get where Frank's coming from. So if you want a top wide receiver, do you go with Chase? Do you go with Brown or Wilson, Puka, or what do you do? I totally get the questions about Justin Jefferson this year. He's a big enigma. He's a big risk reward pick without question.
I think from a fantasy standpoint, you obviously want Sam Darnold in there for him. If they go to the rookie late, especially late in the year, they're out of it, and they go to the rookie, and you're getting J.J. McCarthy throwing the Jefferson in the playoff weeks. That is kind of scary to me. I'm not a huge McCarthy guy. I think he's more of an athlete. He didn't throw the ball a ton at Michigan, so I think he's going to be fine eventually. But right off the bat, if he's coming in during those playoff weeks, yeah, that is a bit scary for Jefferson for me. But they say you got to make the playoffs before you worry about what's going on. Then I think with Darnold in there, I think he's going to be okay to start. But again, if it becomes McCarthy time in Minnesota, that worries me a little bit more.
Yeah. All right. So far we have seen one team go with two running backs. We'll see what team one does here first. Team three doubles up with Bijan Robinson, Devon Achane. Looking here, three teams with two wide receivers. Team four, Tyreek Hill, Michael Pittman. Team six, St. Brown and Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk going very early compared to his ADP. I might have done the math wrong. Four teams with two wide receivers. Team seven, team nine, and team 10. So again, only one team with two running backs, as team one goes with Jalen Waddle to back up Christian McCaffrey. So then we go all the way back to team 12 to begin the third round with third round reversal. And he takes his second running back there to begin round three, Travis Etienne, to begin round three there. So four teams with two wide receivers with their first two picks.
Yeah,
So
and like
again,
you
we'll
said,
talk about.
and then you
Go
said
ahead.
the one team with the two running backs, and obviously we've got Team 12 with two running backs in their first three picks. It'll be interesting to
Yep.
see how these builds goes. Again, I mentioned at the top of the show, it seems like you're either one or the other this year as far as roster construction goes. Maybe mixing it up a little bit. Admittedly, I haven't drafted it all this year or even attempted to do anything like that. I don't know if you can mix it up. I think it seems like you really have to commit, one way or another to one of these popular strategies. Is there a way to zig or is there a way to zag this year? To me, it seems wide open, and it seems like if someone can find that secret formula that kind of combines the two, or maybe that just blows both those two theories out of the water. I think they might be looking at a big season because it seems like most people are one or the other in 2024.
Josh Allen, our first quarterback off the board, going much earlier than his ADP this month. His ADP in July is right around 36. He goes 26 here, so about almost a full round earlier than his ADP this month. So I was actually going to say when he went off the board, the one trend we have seen so far that's held true to this point is the top quarterbacks not going early in drafts. By this point in drafts last year, we'd have seen three, maybe even four quarterbacks off the board in the RotoWire drafts. but obviously just the one to this point, and that's pretty much holding true in our draft so far this year. The top quarterbacks not going off the board early in the RotoWire drafts. And Team 7, Team 9, and Team 7, they are just loading up on wide receivers. Both of them taking 3 to begin their drafts with the first 3 rounds. Team 9, A.J. Brown, Chris Olave, Devontae Smith, back-to-back wide, not back-to-back, but both Eagles wide receivers for Team 9. And then Team 7 goes with Jefferson, Devontae, and DK Met. And Team 6 doing the same thing. Boy, 3 teams loading up on wide receivers with 3 picks in a row. What do you think about that, Jeff? Is that something you'd want to do in the RotoWire, to jump with 3 wide receivers to begin your draft like that?
Yeah, again, I haven't done a lot of drafting this year, but I love Derrick Henry this year. I don't, he's always has his lack of pass catching, and I think that's why he goes so low. But I wouldn't be surprised if he led the league in rushing touchdowns this year in Baltimore. You know, I love that pick there. And just going back to Josh Allen real quick, he wasn't going to be there when Team 11 comes back around. I think it's safe to say. So not against that pick at all. But yeah, the wide receivers, man, oh man, oh man. Again, it gets thin really, really quick. That is one thing I have noticed at the wide receiver position. It seems like you're moving these guys up a lot further than they should be uh, right about now. So I don't disagree with just loading up and trying to find value at other positions a little later on.
And Travis Kelce, tight end 1 off the board in this draft, typically tight end 2 in the RotoWire. So here, Team 4 decides to grab him as their first tight end.
Oh, look who! Hang on, Tom. I gotta say, Jason in the chat. Hey, Jason. I know you and I haven't hung out with him since the old center bar at the Mirage in Las Vegas.
That's right.
Hopefully, the service is a little better at the bars we're at tonight than it was that night.
Oh, that's right. We had some we had a few issues that night, as I recall.
A couple. But yeah, Kelce won. That's kind of surprising to me. I don't, but and Laporta goes the team 1 there. I mean, I like that start for team 1. He's got the number 1 running back, he's got the number 1 tight end by ADP, and he's got Waddle, who I'm pretty high on this year. You keep reading about how they're expecting big things from that Miami passing offense. I love that start for team 1. You can sign me up for that all day, every day.
Yeah, we'll see what he does here as well. Yeah, I like that start as well. So we'll see what he does coming back here to begin round 4. We've cruised through 3 rounds in a little over 10 minutes. Zay Flowers is number 2. Not a bad pick there. So yeah, team 1 off to a very nice start. I agree. And then Devo for team 2. So
yeah, here again, we're talking about those wide receivers. They're loading up. It's time to get them.
Yeah, I mean, look at the draft board right now, folks. What you are not seeing is a lot of green to this point. That's a lot of yellow off the board through a tad over 3 full rounds there, right? That's a lot of yellow. Certainly not only 1 quarterback off the board. That's the trend. Nobody's jumping on quarterbacks early compared to last year. There's Pat Mahomes, second quarterback off the board. But again, no top quarterbacks going early to this point. We'll see if more start coming off the board now, but a lot of yellow. That's a ton of yellow to this point.
And we got the Mahomes Kelce stack. That's pretty.
Yep. Yeah, I mean Tyreek and Pittman. That's a nice start for Team 4. I mean, he's going to have to find some running backs, but yeah, it's a nice nice quarterback pass catching start for Team 4. We'll see what he does as far as building his running back stable after this.
And there's Josh Jacobs, your guy, Green Bay Packer, Green Bay Packer. What are you thinking of him this year, Tom? I don't think we've really talked about him all that much. Are you in it, Jacobs, around this point?
Yeah, I certainly like where he's going. I think 4th round, I think it's a good spot for him. I probably would have taken, I definitely would have taken White over Jacobs. That's just personal preference, but I do like Jacobs. I certainly like him more for the Packers maybe than for fantasy, but I think it's a good fit. It's a good offense. I think he's going to be productive. But again, it's about value. It's about his ADP, where he's being drafted. So in the fourth round and maybe even later at times where he's going, I like the spot for him where you can draft him. So he's not overly expensive. I mean, I want to take a look at where his ADP has been uh, this month. Actually, right around 36 and a half. So he went a little bit later in this draft. So yeah, I mean, I think the value is pretty good for Josh Jacobs. And there's our third quarterback off the board, Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I didn't want to mention it
Look at
when he
that.
did it, but he's got Brown, Hurts, and Smith.
Yep.
That's a beautiful stack right there.
He is all in on we're not identifying people unless they want us to, so we're not saying who team 9 is. I honestly don't know who team 9 is. But yeah, it's certainly he's in love with the Eagles offense. That's safe to say.
Getting that Packers defense game 1. There you go.
I would be okay at that. I mean, I think the Packers D has a chance to be better, but I certainly wouldn't have any problems attacking that defense with especially with that offense. Well, that's a good point, Jason. I mean, a year ago, stacking, and we know it's certainly popular in DFS. We know that, but in season long in particular, it was super popular a year ago, and it wasn't. I don't think it was highly profitable a year ago in season long. So we'll have to see how profitable it is this year. But people do go for it. Obviously, Team Nine's really going for it. I think it's something. I don't know if it's something you want to go out of your way to do, but if you can do it, yeah, you can go for it. But yeah, it's certainly it's become more prominent in season long. It's not just a DFS thing anymore.
Yeah, and we talked about it on the cut line broadcast we did. I think I like it a little more in the best ball streets
Yeah,
than the
I agree.
where you set a roster like we do here in the RotoWire Online Championship. Not saying it's wrong. I mean, obviously that's going to be some huge weeks with Smith, Brown, and Hurts all together, and even the Mahomes Kelsey stack. All that kind of stuff. I understand. I mean, there's nothing better than that double dip when you get that that touchdown from
Yeah, I
your quarterback to your receiver. But you're pretty much pushing your chips in there. You're all in when you do that. It's if they have a bad game, your team's gonna have a bad game.
yep,
But if they have a great game, man, you're loving life on Sunday night.
yep. No, I agree with you there about doing it in best ball. I like it more in best ball. And in best ball, I'd probably be more aggressive in trying to target stacks than I would in fab leagues. And to answer Christian's question, all of our leagues, all of our contests are full PPR. So yes.
And then again, right at the end there, the
Yep.
back-to-back picks creates a stack for Team 12, Jackson and Andrews.
So it's safe to say Team 12 is definitely trying to target that stack. I think we can safely make that assumption. After his Lamar pick, he goes right with Mark Andrews there.
Yeah, definitely. I like that, and I like that. So that's the kind of stack I can get behind because and with the tight end, and obviously Jackson has his rushing equity that can be quite valuable. So I think I'm again best ball. I love stacking in this. I gotta be a little more conservative, but I like a quarterback to tight end stack a lot more than I do a quarterback to double wide receiver stack. Not to say it's wrong, but just how I prefer to play a little more conservative. Like I said, if that team has a bad game, you're in big trouble. But there's a way
Right.
where Mark Andrews has a bad game, and Lamar Jackson can still rush the ball, and Team 12 is going to be okay.
Yeah, and I kind of clicked off that too quickly by mistake there, Jason. Yeah, I mean, best ball, if the stack doesn't work out, you've got guys on your bench who hopefully, can cover for you if those stacks don't work out. Whereas in redraft leagues, if the stack doesn't work out, you're pretty much screwed for the week. So that's why I think it's more beneficial to go for it in best ball. And we're seeing the running backs flying off the board here in round number 5. Kenneth Walker, James Cook, Mixon, Al Kamara come flying off the board. Team 8 now has got 3 running backs. I think first team with 3 running backs now. Team 8's got Barkley, Pacheco, and Kamara. his stable of running backs.
Who needs a running back, says Team 7. Who needs anything but pass catchers, says Team 7.
Look at team, no kidding. Look at that. Interesting start for sure.
I like it. I mean, that's a heck of a group of guys there.
It's
There's
a
a
heck of
ton
a
of
group
upside.
of pass catchers. Yeah.
There, Frank mentioned the Jefferson thing. I'm still in on Jefferson. Devontae Adams. I mean, he's still Devontae Adams. Metcalf. I think the Seattle offense. That's what I was going to talk about a little bit. I kind of think that whole, because Walker went this round here. What do you think on that offense? It's kind of quiet. Pete Carroll's not the coach there anymore. Do they open things up a little more? With Carroll not around. That's an interesting situation to me. I think if you guess that one correctly, and that offense, turns into something that it really wasn't under Carroll, I think Metcalf could be, a round one wide receiver if they just feed him the ball, which they probably should, but they never really have. A Walker too. I know they have Charbonnet. Or sorry, I don't mean to name people that haven't gone yet, but Walker to me is an excellent pick at the start of round number 5. That's pure
Yeah.
upside to me.
Yeah, there's talent on that offense. It's skill positions. There's no question about that. So it's a question of what kind of offense do they want to be? We know what they've been for years, and it's been frustrating for fantasy. So it's all about what are they going to do to maximize the talent that they have. And I think that's what's always been so frustrating is when they quote unquote let Russ cook, they maximized it, but that wasn't often enough. And we don't know. It's a fear of unknown, which is why a lot of those guys are going where they're going. You can go to our ADP page at playnffc.com/ADP and you can see where those Seattle players are going. So that we just don't know. And so there could be potential value there because they're talented guys. So I think when you don't have to pay the lofty price anymore for those guys, it's worth taking a shot. But you got to understand the potential downside is baked into that ADP.
Nope,
So,
no doubt. But I love where Metcalf and Walker were selected in this draft.
yeah.
It pure upside to
And
me. I mean,
looking,
I think
yeah, I
worst
mean,
case
looking,
scenario they pay off where they went.
yeah, looking at Team 11, for example, who took Walker, I like that start. Now he's got to get some more wide receivers. I agree with you, Christian, by the way. Boy, that team too, those are some pass catchers. I mean, Kyron Williams, he comes with a lot of questions. We know that, but boy, look at those wide receivers. Good Lord.
Yeah, I
But
like
that's
that.
a,
I think I did a retweet about on our NFFC account. I can't remember. I think it might have been Adam Leviton from Establish the Run that posted talking about how the Tennessee offense. It really seems like they're going to be throwing the football a lot more. I mean, like a complete
they have to.
180. Yeah, a complete 180 from where they were
Yeah.
last year, where they just handed Derrick Henry the ball a ton.
But,
They invested in the pass
yeah.
catchers a little bit. Obviously, signing Ridley was a big deal. He's probably the number one, right? I mean, him and Hopkins,
I would, yeah,
Boyd in
I
the
would think so.
slot. They're going to be slinging that ball around. Heck, even the running backs are pass catcher and type running backs, both of them.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so
Yeah.
again, when we
I mean,
when we I'm sorry to cut you off, but when we talked about Seattle, like how the coaching change there is kind of how we don't know. I think we do know what's going to happen in Tennessee. I think they're going to be throwing the ball a lot, and I think Ridley at the start of round 6 is an excellent pick. So I agree with Christian.
yeah, I like the pick too. And I mean team 3 there just went stacked up with Stroud and Tank Dell. But going back to team 11, again, he's got to get some more wide receivers, so we'll see what he does after Harrison, but I mean Gibbs, Walker, Harrison, McBride and Allen is a very nice start. So we'll see what he does. He's got to start 3 wide receivers, so again, we'll see what he does to complement Marvin Harrison, but I do like the start there for team 11, but yeah, I mean, team 2, that's a crazy group of wide receivers there. But I mean, looking at this, the most he can start is 4, and he's got, if I do my math right, I got to add these up, right? I believe that's 5. So
that is correct, Tom. That is indeed 5.
yeah, okay, that's 5. The most he can start is 4, and he's got 5 really good ones. So, I mean, that's something to think about. I mean, when you're building your roster, I mean, would he been more beneficial to look for another position because he's already stacked there? I mean, Lamb, Diggs, Debo, and Higgins. Those are 4 guys you're probably starting every week. So, as good as Ridley is, was Ridley the pick, or was maybe a quarterback, another running back, even a tight end? I mean, looking at roster construction, was he better off taking that 5th wide receiver who he's got a weekly decision at wide receiver flex, really? Or was he better off looking for another starting position that he needs to fill? Now I
Yeah.
understand he could be saying Calvin Ridley fell too far, but that's my question.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not going to have to make that decision every week because
Exactly.
I
I
don't
mean,
want to sit
that's
any of those guys.
yeah. I mean, that's 5 wide receivers you're starting on a weekly basis in a league where you can only start 4, as many as 4.
And just on Team 11 real
So
quick, I mentioned that kind of zigging and zagging. This might be it. You know, he's got the quarterback, he's got the wide receiver, a running back, and a tight end. Let's see what he does the rest of the way. I'm intrigued to see where this goes and how he fills the rest of this team out. I kind of like the start. Again, how I think I mentioned earlier, how I think this might be the year to do something different when it comes to roster construction. This is different when you just look at the colors alone on the board we have up. So again, I'll be interested to see how he finishes this draft off.
we'll keep an eye on his pick. I do want to look, and he goes with running back, which he had to. And Zach Moss is certainly a guy. I think if you're looking at running backs later, he's definitely a guy to keep an eye on. That Bengals team needs a running back with Joe Mixon gone. That's a nice pick there. Oh, I love the Jaden Reed pick. I know it's a bit of a homer thing, but I love the Jaden Reed pick. All right, I do want to talk about Team 4 because he really obviously 4 picks to start off, no running backs. I think he did very well with Aaron Jones and Ramondre Stevenson in 5 and 6. I think that's a really nice start for Team 4. Hill, Pittman, Kelsey, 3 really good pass catchers to start. Mahomes, I mean, he faded down the stretch, but if you're going with a top quarterback, it's pretty solid. But again, to weigh down running backs and get Jones, who I think's got 1 good year left in him, and then Stevenson, who I understand the offense stinks, but I think if he's healthy, we know how good Ramondre Stevenson can be. I think those are 2 nice picks if you're waiting on running backs. I think Team 4 has done really well. I like that start for Team 4.
Yeah, I know you're a big Ramondre fan this year, and
I am
again, we talked about
for
waiting
the
on running
value.
backs. We talked about waiting on running backs after those 3 or 4 teams went 3 or 4 pass catchers to start. And look at this group of it started around Josh Jacobs. I know you said you like Rashad White more, but all these guys are kind of the same to me. I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't really have a set order. When you look at these guys, I wouldn't be surprised to see any one of these guys be an excellent value of where they're going. I haven't really dug too deep into any of this yet, but a lot of these guys are kind of the same to me. It's just they're going to have their good weeks. I think they're going to have some weeks that aren't going to be so good. They're, you mentioned the whole Jacob scenario. Some of these guys are going to be catching passes. When you look at the Kamaras, the James Cooks of the world, I mentioned Walker. David Montgomery. There's going to be the weeks where he gets the ball at the 1 yard line 3 times and has 3 scores. So this is a very interesting area. And again, if you load up on those pass catchers early, you're going to have to take one of these guys that has the flaw, and you're going to have to take their bad weeks with the good weeks. But I do think there's going to be more good weeks than there are bad weeks when it ultimately comes to the end of the year.
And now we're certainly seeing some quarterbacks come off the board. Anthony Richardson, Team 10, Joe Burrow, Team number 8. And yeah, the teammate,
Yeah,
yes, he
Burrow and
did.
Chase.
Yes, he did. Teammates got the Burrow Chase stack, which certainly, as I can speak from personal experience, destroyed a lot of people last year. Destroyed them in pretty much week 1. And again, I speak from experience.
You know anyone
I
that
was
had that
all
run?
in.
You know
I was
someone that did
all
that?
in on Burrow and Chase last year. I think in 90% of my leagues, and I was out in week 1.
Yeah, Jason in chat mentions Rashee Rice there. Is this going to be another one of those Kamara things? Remember a few years ago when Kamara had that assault
It was
charge or
last year,
whatever
yeah.
looming, and he just never really got suspended
Or
until
2 years ago when everybody was fearful. Well, here's the thing though. Here's why it's different. 2 years ago, the Saints did not do anything to address the running back position. I was telling people on Twitter all off season, if they thought a suspension was coming, they were going to address the running back position in the draft or free agency or both. And they didn't. So, folks, draft Alvin. Stop letting Alvin Kamara fall in your draft because they're not doing. They know a suspension's not coming. Now look what the Chiefs have done. They
but they needed to add
massively.
wide receiver help regardless. So
I understand that, but they added number one type wide receivers. Okay, or
yeah, see,
guys that they at least think. I'm just telling you, there's a difference between what the Chiefs did in the offseason and what the Saints did. Huge,
I agree with you on the Kamara
monumental
point,
difference.
but they needed better wideouts
I
regardless.
understand that. I understand that. They also won the last two Super Bowls.
Yeah, that helps.
I understand that. But I'm just telling you, 2 years ago, the Saints, just telling you, 2 years ago, the Saints did not address that running back position at all. And I was screaming at people on Twitter, stop letting Alvin Kamara fall in your drafts. He's not going to get suspended. And he didn't get suspended.
I mentioned him earlier, and I apologize for mentioning someone. I thought he went, but DeAndre Hopkins at the end of round 7 there. Again, when we're talking about that Titans offense, throwing the ball around the field a lot more. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is done by any stretch of the imagination. So I like that pick right there. Getting a little more green that round, though, too. Look at that. Again, when we talk about these flawed running backs that are going to give you a lot of good weeks. Eckler, Warren, Swift, Zamir White, Mostert. I mean, again, Najee Harris. Brooks is an interesting one, but again, the guys that, let's face it, they're not McCaffrey, Bijan, or Brees Hall, but they're going to be plenty of good weeks from those guys.
I like to watch what the team that drafts McCaffrey does. And because McCaffrey is the outlier player, when he's healthy, he's by far the best player in fantasy football. So what does that team do? Because they've got the X factor, they got the outlier. And I really like what Team One has done. I mean,
Me
his
as
wide
well.
receivers, I think, are really good. Waddle, Flowers, Godwin, who I really like Godwin this year. Hopkins and McConkey. I mean, there's questions about that offense, but McConkey could walk right into their number one receiver role. And then he backed up McCaffrey with a rock solid number two running back, in Montgomery. And then he's got Laporta, who you talked about, potentially the number one tight end, who he got as tight end too. So I still got to get a QB, but it's a 12-teamer. There's guys out there. So I think he's done really well. I think Team One has drafted really well tonight.
Yeah, sign me up for that start all day, every day.
Yeah, I think he's done well. And a good point, like you said, round 6, 7, into 8 here. Well, actually started in 5. But yeah, more and more in green coming off the board now. And good running backs, solid running backs. Certainly guys with questions, not guys who are going to come in there and drop 20 points a game most weeks. I mean, Raheem Mostert, he was a freak last year, but guys who should be potentially solid contributors some weeks. But again, they got questions, but that's why they're going where they're going.
Yeah, I mean, again, Mostert, if he does half, I think we said it in previous broadcasts, if he does half of what he did last year, round 7 is a great spot for him.
Yeah.
And again, all I keep reading about is that Miami offense again. I think I'm warming up to them a ton again this year. Sign me up for all the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a freak. I think Team 7 might be our first handcuff of the evening, backing up James Conner with Trey Benson there in round number 8. I think somebody in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the first one to do that.
Both Tennessee Titan running backs this round.
Yep. And that for me is a coin flip. I don't know. Again, guys in the chat, you guys can chime in which of those you like better. For me, it's a coin flip. I think if I was drafting 10 times, I'd probably take Pollard 5 times and Spears 5 times. I think it's a 50-50 split. I like both guys. I I don't think there's an advantage in that backfield. Maybe a slight edge to Pollard, maybe, but I do like Spears a lot too.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think even shares at the end of the drafting season would be, and I do like them both. I like them both where
Yeah.
they're going here, round 8.
Yeah,
So
and yeah, again, I like the draft spots for them. I don't you don't have to pay a lot for them. I think they're both twos or threes, depending, three maybe, depending on your roster construction. So I think they're both pretty good. And looking at the Seattle again, we can talk about Smith-Njigba now. He's another one of those Seattle skill position guys who could be really productive depending on what kind of an offense we got there in Seattle.
let's look at these teams that started 3 wide receivers. And again, when I talk about strategy and build, Team 9 started 3 wide receivers: Mixon, Harris, Spears. Perfectly okay. Something I would like. Team 7, Connor, Mostert, Benson. Again, you're gonna get a running back 1 or running back 2 most weeks from those guys. I think. Team 6, Rashad White, Zamir White. Again, the PPR from Rashad White and Zamir White appears to be the guy in Las Vegas. I like adding that. I like those 2 running backs. So I mean, they went 3 wide receivers to start there, and it's hard to argue with what they're getting at running back. It's really not that much different than what everyone else is getting at running back when you really sit down and think about it.
I like that team 6 start quite a bit. I mean, those 3 wide receivers to start are really, really good. I do like Rashad White, and to get him in the middle of the 4th round, I think is really nice value. Evan Engram was just an absolute beast last year. So to me, I mean, getting after Pitts, I like that. And then Jordan Love, I think that's a rock solid pick there in the 8th round. I like Team Six's start quite a bit. I think that's a really nice start.
Yeah, again, would you? I would consider that. Would you? Do you consider this zero running back, or do we got to go later? To would you consider that?
I don't think it's zero. I think it's
That's not
I
zero
just think
running
it's
back in your opinion. I'm
no.
not sure
I
what the
think
exact definition.
I'm trying to look if there's anybody that I don't think there's anybody in this draft I'd call zero running back really. Well, maybe. I mean, I guess 7 might kind of be, but that's, I mean, even 6th round is still, I think, early for zero running back. I don't think, yeah, no, I wouldn't. I mean, 2 is kind of modified. Yeah, 2 is, I'd say, modified.
All right. I do think I know you said you talked earlier how you're getting a Bijan early guy, and you said you don't like those wide receivers, but in the middle of round 1, how you'd even take Gibbs, Taylor, and
Yep.
Saquon. I don't know. I think I'd have a hard time if I'm 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just give me all the wide receivers, baby. Load up, and hope I hit on these. Hope I hit on these running backs that we're talking about. Obviously, I think I'd have better opinions on who I like more. But for right now, I don't think you can go wrong with any of them.
Well, I did the FSGA draft, and granted, that was 14 teams, so it's different. I was drafting right in the middle, um, and I didn't get a running back early. And they just kept the wide receivers kept falling to me. So my wide receivers are stacked, but my running backs are kind of, and that's the problem I have. So I don't feel good about it. I think it's a middle of the pack kind of team. I don't think that team can contend. I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be the kind of team that's going to be like a 500, slightly above 500 team because they just don't have the running backs.
Yeah, I
But those
think I
wide
think,
receivers are really freaking good.
and I remember you drafting that team and showing Greg and I. And I think the 14 team. I think that 2 extra teams makes a huge difference
It does.
in that format.
Absolutely. But I could have taken, in retrospect, I probably should have taken Devon Achane in the 2nd round. But I don't feel like he's an RB1. Now, our high stakes guys are feeling differently about him. They're going to probably push him up to the maybe even the end of the 1st round, but certainly early second by the time we get to Vegas and New York. So in retrospect, though, I probably should have taken him in the second round. But even with him, I don't know if that team's a contending team. I really wanted a stud running back, but the problem is they let Tyreek Hill fall to me. And I'm like, well, shoot, I can't let him fall in the first. But once he fell to me in the first, I knew I was screwed.
Yeah.
So
I think I have Tyreek. He's my number 4 for sure.
yeah, he's 4 on my board too, but he fell to me at 6. Yeah, I got Zamir White too in that league, Jason, but I don't feel like he's a stud. I feel like he's a nice, 6, 7, 8 round kind of guy, and he went the 7th round here. I like him. I think he's fine, but I don't think he's the kind of guy who's gonna, crush it. I hope I'm wrong because I got him in that league. But I know I've not seen. I haven't looked at any prop bets yet. I'll look at those when we get closer to Vegas.
I was going to ask you this exact question since they both went near each other. What's your opinion there, Tom?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with being a Packer fan. I just think he's a better talent. First of all, I trust him to stay healthy. I don't trust Christian Watson to stay healthy, but I think he's just a better talent. I think he's a better football player. I mean, the things you can do with he's a mini Deebo Samuel. He's just a better football player. You can do a wide variety of things with him on the football field. You can't do with any other player on their offense, really. So to me, he's their number 3 running back, not just their number 1 wide receiver, their number 3 running back. So, there's a ton of things you can do with I almost said Deebo Samuel. There's a ton of things you can do with Jaden Reed.
Well, there's also, to be fair, there is also a ton of things you can do with Deebo Samuel as well.
That's true.
You wouldn't have been wrong.
I call him mini Deebo because obviously Deebo's a big, strong guy. I mean, Jaden Reed's not big, and he's not big like that. So you got to be mindful of the fact you don't put him out there and get him killed. You can't do all the things with him that the Niners do with Deebo.
I like this Gus Bus pick. That backfield.
I do too.
That backfield is incredibly interesting to me, how it's going to shape up. I know earlier on, I think I posted a nugget a month or so ago, someone saying, don't forget about J.K. Dobbins, but I mean, I'm not even sure that guy has all his legs at this point.
No, I like Edwards too. I got him in that FSGA league. I got a bunch of guys just like that in that FSGA team. I mean, Gus Edwards could get like 12 touchdowns this year and average like 2 yards a carry. That's who Gus Edwards is. So, but that's why I'm looking at that team going, there's no way it contends, but I got a bunch of guys like that. But I like the Gus Edwards pick just fine because, yeah, you get him in round 10. You're not spending anything on him. Again, Team 4 has done really well. I like that stable of running backs. Jones, I mean, after that, look at that start, right? Hill, Pittman, Kelsey, Mahomes, and then what's he done at running back? He's gotten a good stable of backs. He doesn't have a stud guy, but he's got 4 guys now that he can play on a weekly basis. So I think he's done really well.
Let me ask you this: with Team 2 and Team 5 both going running backs this round, if you're Team 2, would you have handcuffed Corum to Kyren Williams there instead of going with Javonte Williams?
Yes, absolutely.
Again, that's for having him. But then again, you got basically your third running back. You got 1 running back spot for 3 of your running back spots on your fantasy team by doing that. So maybe you need to. I can see why he might need to mix it up a little bit, being that he's. But he also that
Ridley pick is that Ridley pick is the one that jumps out because again he's got those 5 wide receivers and he's got. I mean he could have gone somewhere else in round 6. And that would have changed things, right? I mean, he could have taken like Ramondre, at running back or something. And but yeah, I think again, it could work out. I mean, we're certainly, no experts here. We have one opinion in the NFC.
I am not a smart man. Don't take anything I say.
So we're just offering our opinions, which could be wrong. But yeah, I personally, what I've done, I would have taken Blake Corum there. I mean, I'm not a big I'm not a big handcuff guy personally. But I think with all the questions surrounding Kyren Williams, I think personally I would feel better if I had Corum.
Yeah, I think a 10th round pick to handcuff Williams there.
Yeah.
that seems worth it to me. And I'm with you. I'm usually not a big handcuff guy myself. I'd rather have someone else's handcuff, but that does seem like the situation to do it.
Yeah. All
And
right, I
look
think
at
we'll do another round or so. We'll do another
sorry to cut
round
you
and
off.
then
But
we'll
look
shut
at
it
Team
off.
9. Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and now the tight end, Dallas Goedert. This man is loving the Philadelphia Eagles.
He really is. That's all in on the Eagles there, no doubt about that.
And even this Zeke Elliott pick, I'm into that. I like this. I like Chase Brown. I like Zeke Elliott. They're kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. Brown being the young, fast guy, Zeke being the slow veteran. But I like both those picks quite a bit for team number 10. Nothing but upside there. I mean, I don't see the harm in it at all.
We got a couple of quarterbacks off the board there in round 10. Tua Tagovailoa going to team 7.
You're not a Zeke guy this year, Tom?
I
mean, somebody's got to do it, right?
Somebody's got to run there, yeah. And then JD Daniels going to team 11. Don't think there's a hookup there. No, there's not.
I like Tua there. I've been mentioning Dolphins pass catchers all broadcast long. I really like Tua in that spot.
I mean, there is an offbeat stack. I don't know how else to describe it there with Tua and Raheem Mostert. Quarterback, running back stack, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I'm back to the late round QB. When you look at some of these guys that have gone, Tua, Daniels is going to do it with his legs. Purdy that was an excellent pick where team number 1 got him. Even Dak, we talked about that tight end quarterback stack. I meant to point that out when it happened with the Prescott Ferguson. I do like, tight end is such a volatile position to begin with. So I do like.
Well, he's got Lamb too.
And he's got Lamb. Yeah, geez. I didn't even.
Yep. So he's in with the Cowboys pretty good. And team 1's got Purdy and McCaffrey. So that's actually a legit quarterback running back stack when you consider CMC in the passing game. So that's a good running back quarterback stack there.
Yeah, Jason had a comment. He thought 2 of the team 1. Yeah, I kind of thought I was thinking the same thing of maybe getting the Waddle to a hookup, but Purdy, McCaffrey, you just locked up. The 49ers score a touchdown, which one of the better offenses in the league, unless they hand it off to Devo, which you mentioned earlier. But team one's got the 49ers on lock pretty much.
Yep. That's, again, with CMC in the passing. Yep. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate that. Every once in a while, Jason, I got, I earn my salary every 3 or 4 weeks.
I don't know about that. That seems a little.
Yeah.
I would have gone 5 or 6 personally.
That might have been a little generous. All right. I think we're going to shut things off here, guys. Want to say thank you to everybody who joined us in the chat. Again, we got a town hall tomorrow. I don't know did Greg say what time the town hall is yet?
I don't think we got a time, but I'd guess it around noon Eastern, like the first one was.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, check. We'll make an announcement probably on the message boards, but on our Twitter as well. So again, we got a town hall with the 2 of us and Greg. We'll go over some things in the NFFCA. We got a couple announcements we want to make as well about New York and Las Vegas. A couple other things we want to talk about. But make sure you check that out. And then I think there's some other live streams we got coming up as well. Greg's got a big announcement. Yeah, Greg's got a big announcement about some live streams coming up next week that he wants to talk about. So make sure you check that all out as well. So again, want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Let's get Jeff up here on the split screen. There we go. All right. So thank you all for joining us tonight. Want to thank everybody who checked it all out. Again, the RotoWire Online Championship. These drafts are now selling out pretty much on the regular. But again, you want to sign up for anything with us, go to playnffc.com. We got our drafts going on every night, our auctions. We got the live events in Las Vegas and New York as well. Again, all of that at playnffc.com. Thank you all for joining us. Jeff, thank you for joining me as well. Good night, everybody.
Thanks, guys.